Yeah, so some of you may know that I enjoy skiing here, and quite rightly, I first came in 20 years ago for the good value, but actually some epic skiing here. So if you are tempted by those mountains, and Kyle, I know you're a skier, then maybe come in the winter. So what am I involved in? Apart from that, I'm co-owner of a restaurant services company, food delivery, websites for restaurants, QR codes, table booking, all that stuff under the brand Order.bg, and more recently, Ordermoon. But before I'm going to go into that, I want to get a feel of the room. If you can put your hand up, how many of you actually own Bitcoin? Oh my God, I wasn't expecting that many. That's almost half, at least half. And I've got another slide here. Can you keep your hand up, please? Everybody, just put it up again. If you can put your hand down, if you don't own those private keys. That's the 12 or 24 words. Yeah, wow, that's impressive. Now, something I did notice there is mainly blokes. Okay, so I was just talking to Beatrice before I came on, and guys, it looks like you're going to be getting some girlfriends. So my introduction, I'll give a little bit of a personal story about my kind of finding Bitcoin. It really started before Bitcoin came around. I was in corporate finance in the UK working for the bigger banks. And 2008 crisis happened. Many of you will know all about that. And it was quite a time, but I think we kind of learned something about money. People used to say, my money is in the bank. And, well, we found out that it's not necessarily yours. In the UK, we had a problem with Northern Rock. I think in Cyprus, they did a bank bail-in where they took 10% of all your cash above 100,000. We had problems in Cyprus. And since then, we've had loads of problems. Wars break out. You can't get your money out. And you find that your money's not in the bank. We have something called fractional reserve banking where it's lent out. That's all well and good until everybody wants their money out at the same time. And the last point really is it's not necessarily great money. Some of you may not be aware that your money's not backed by gold. That ended in the US in 1971 under Nixon. So it's paper, and you're relying on the government there, which may not be a good thing. So Bitcoin came along to me in late 2012. I was fascinated. I downloaded the blockchain. In those days, you didn't have the 12 words. I tried to write those down. There was only one exchange, and it was called Mt. Gox or Mt. Gox. And I thought, well, I'll buy some just for a laugh. It seems very interesting. In fact, just to try and separate the state from the money seemed like a really cool idea. I think I reading that. I thought, yeah, let's have competition. I'm a big competition guy. Let's have competition in money. But I failed in my quest. I needed some bits of paper for KYC that they introduced, and it didn't happen. The price was around about $10 then. Then it got to 2015. The price ran up to 2012 $1,200, let's say, and then came down. And price is the big lead in, I think, for many of us when we first look at something like Bitcoin. And I spent a lot of time. I'm a banker, risk adverse, all that stuff, and into risk management in my professional career previously. So I spent literally 4 weeks watching a chap called Andreas Antonopoulos' videos. They're still out there, they're still amazing. Thank you, Andreas, if you're watching. And really just to say, I spent all that time, and I was actually very interested in gold. And we got a little comparison there. I kind of realised that fiat currency wasn't going to be the best thing to keep my money in, whatever money I might have had at the time. As I said, I wasn't the poorest. And then gold, you can't really travel with. You can't just scrape off little bits and buy stuff with your gold. And when you go through those X-ray machines, whatever, at the airport, the beeper goes off with your gold. So Bitcoin seemed like the winner to me. And I love the idea of the scarcity, the predetermined amount. Then, of course, I was aware that there was inflation, but then I learned, of course, there's really deflation going on. Things get cheaper and cheaper to produce. As time goes on, we become more efficient at everything. But we're having inflation. What's going on there? It's weird, isn't it? And then house prices are going up by 8% and all that. So, yeah, it's kind of odd. And basically the issue is the government is printing money. And I love the meme, nothing will stop this train. popularized by Lynn Alden, the economist. And basically, you know, if you look at America, they've got nearly $37 trillion of debt, and it doesn't matter what they do, they're going to get inflation. It seems that way, it's only round. So if you put rates up, then things get more expensive to pay back the debt. If you put rates down, then of course that pumps the economy with more money. So, you know, someone asked me the other day, I put out the fact that I'm going to do a little chat talk here about the conference. And they said, well, of course, Bitcoin's a Ponzi. So I sent them this little meme here. And I don't know what you think, but I would say it's not Bitcoin, but it's a Ponzi scheme. And then also I had a business, and like many of you who have e-commerce sites, you use a payment processor like Stripe or PayPal, you may have had chargebacks. You really are the loser in these situations. It's a nightmare. And more recently, I think the big turn on for looking at Bitcoin right now is here in Europe, in Euroland, is the concept of a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, from the highly regarded Christine Lagarde. She loves this idea. And she said it would work just like it does in China. I'm not sure whether that's a very good recommendation as far as I'm concerned. So there's this panopticon idea that you could be surveyed if you spend the money on things that maybe someone doesn't approve, too many emissions, that sort of thing, then you know, they can stop that expenditure. So that's a little bit scary in my opinion. So the journey continues. After 2015, we get to the spring of 2016, and I put this little screenshot because it's a video you can still find 9 years ago on the Bansko blog YouTube channel. I filmed my business partner Nasko, who you'll see today with a t-shirt on with Bitcoin on, who extracts some Bitcoin for 50 lev, and you can see him paying for our beers in Sats. So that was, for those that know the thing, Bitcoin Pizza Day for us really, and a message really to spend and replace with Bitcoin. Now, just before I came on, I was talking to Christian about real estate, and he was saying how nice it is to have your own property and everything else. And I particularly agree here in Bansko, it really is good. But frankly, if you're in a younger generation trying to get ahead, you really are behind. It feels a bit of a scam, and your parents' or grandparents' generation, they could buy houses. The multiples for mortgages were a lot less than in the UK, 2.5, maybe 3. Now they're 5, 6, even higher. So you just feel, I'm lost, forget it, I'm always going to have to rent a place. I've got the shortcut code for you in the younger generation. I really have. And just look at these numbers. Not financial advice, I've got to say that, but look, 83% compound annual growth rate. That's CAGR, that's how we measure growth. Real estate, 6%, 5%, not far off, 8% for real estate. Real estate, I have had rental property, absolute nightmare. Someone phones you up, the boiler's broken, they've broken something, they've lost the key, they leave it dirty. Then you've got to find new tenants, then you have voids. If you love doing the job, by all means go for it, but don't expect much more than 8% growth and probably virtually no return for your rental efforts. Then you've got those lovely fees that you'll pay on maintenance to the government or authorities for taxes. So now with Bitcoin, it's mobile, it's instant. You can't sell a part of your property to get some cash. You can do that now very easily with Bitcoin. Just raise some money within a few hours. Unbelievable. Things are really moving on in the Bitcoin world, which brings me to where we're up to now, this whole concept of Bitcoin circular economies that Nasko and I are pushing ahead with the help of Ivan, who works for Breeze, who have an SDK, to enable businesses like ours to integrate Bitcoin Lightning payments into their apps. So you can all do this for your business. So we're trying to normalize paying with Bitcoin. We want to move it more and more from this idea of an asset, something that goes up and down in comparison to other things, to just actually pay and make it more like a medium of exchange. And so this world is coming right now, and we're doing some work here in Bansko. You can go to the chef's house and you can get sats back from us, 10%, go to order.bg/BTC. So I think this might be one of the few presentations where you can actually make some money. How about that, eh? Okay, let's move on. I put this in last night, this meme. The price crashed yesterday to 99k, and yeah, this is the feeling that people get. But I have to mention, these are my personal top 5. There's a great presentation by Michael Saylor on the 21 rules for Bitcoin, but these are my top 5. I'd mentioned about coins. I am so impressed so many of you own your keys and realise that unless you own your keys, they're not really your coins. Keep to Bitcoin only. Just spoke to a Riffle guy just down here. Yeah, it's really not the point. Then it's time in the market rather than timing the market. This is the secret sauce. I cannot stress enough. It really makes all the difference. You just got to work hard to do nothing. The other one is those who understand Bitcoin buy Bitcoin. I'm yet to find anyone who's spent 100, 200, 300 hours studying Bitcoin who go, nah, not for me. I'd also just slightly tweak now. Those who keep on understanding Bitcoin buy more Bitcoin. Yeah, you can never have enough coin. So, and the other thing for me is the whole point of there can only ever be 21. Okay, traveling with Bitcoin. And it's unique, Bitcoin. You can just travel with those 12 words in your skull, or you can write them down on a piece of paper, you can put them in a book, put them in a certain order. You can get through any customs anywhere in the world. Your freedom from all those hassles with bank. We had a presentation yesterday morning on flag theory and all the hassles of setting up banks in various countries. You've got a bank better than a Swiss bank account in your pocket. And the big thing here is you can go and find Bitcoiners anywhere. I'm lucky they found me here today, but actually you can go virtually anywhere in the world and find other Bitcoiners, and you can give them some sats and they'll give you some cash. So I think you can go and find the meetups there are. And I'm throwing some conferences we've got coming, just highlighting the one in Sofia in October. I'll be there. Lugano, I'll be there. Actually, I didn't know there was one going in Chiang Mai, but I'd rather fancy that. And I've taken up jogging, so maybe I'll do that half marathon there. And then El Salvador, as some of you know, is Bitcoin country. I'm looking forward to going there. So yeah, my relationship with banks and all our relationships with banks can be fraught. So Bitcoin is your solution on our travels around the world. So I've talked about this importance of using Bitcoin, using this layer 2 called Lightning, which is now infinitely easier than it used to be on the base layer that you could see in the video that Nasco and I did 9 years ago. So my point here is that every business needs a Bitcoin strategy. And I guess my analogy is, it feels like 1999 with the internet. I was around there working in the corporate world, and gradually corporates were getting a website. Some said, no, not now, we'll do it later, what's the point? Basically, it's like that. In not so far distant future, every business will have Bitcoin. They will have a Bitcoin strategy. And I hope before then that you personally have your own Bitcoin strategy accumulating regularly. So we can help you, and lots of people will help you in the community to think about how your business can integrate Bitcoin now before it absolutely explodes. And it is exploding on the treasury front right now. So we have flipped our treasury to Bitcoin. And already it's working out great. It's small, but it's growing better than it would do if we left the money in our bank where it would earn 0. So maybe you're just starting out, you're young, there's some ideas. Earlier, Saxon was saying there's no money in art. Well, you haven't been to a Bitcoin conference. There's whole floors of people selling art, and the prices are surprisingly high. The quality's amazing. Bitcoiners are buying art. So if you're an artist, a sculpture, anything to do with art, then Bitcoin should be your home. I bought Bitcoin art, amazing stuff, and it comes with a real meaning for Bitcoiners. So this brand of Bitcoin is what I really want to focus on, and for you to leverage the community that's there all around the world, passionate, as I hopefully proved today with 5 or 6 friends coming from the coast and from Sofia to support me. It really is amazing. You can offer discounts to Bitcoiners to get them used to coming to your site and buying stuff. Crowdfundable Geyser. I talked about the gentleman who's come from Washington. He actually, like us, used the Geyser platform. It's a Bitcoin-only platform for crowdfunding. Our first funds came from a fund called Bitcoin Beach, started in El Salvador. So we got a grant to help promote the circular economy here in Bulgaria. So please go to Geyser and get some ideas. Yeah, think about Nostr. It's a decentralized social media app. I'm not sure whether I can ever remember what Nostr stands for. Notes and other stuff transmitted by relays. So there we go. So you can zap sats. It's all integrated. God, I never thought I'd remember that. Okay, so any of you now a bit more convinced that Bitcoin could be something you should buy? Yeah, a little bit? I'm there with a few. Okay. It doesn't happen overnight. So you saw us buying some Bitcoin in an ATM 9 years ago, and there's this great site called Coin ATM Radar. That's a very good place to start. Why no KYC? Know your customer. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because giving your data away absolutely exposes you to potential issues in the future. I'm not saying it will, but there's a higher risk. So if you can buy your sats, and I haven't mentioned this, I forgot, I'm terribly sorry, that there are 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin. So of course you can buy a little fraction of a Bitcoin. So so you can buy from peer-to-peer ways, and there's various platforms here that you can get involved in. There's more KYC on waves.space and Get Bitter, very good Get Bitter. I want to talk about Revolut. Who has a Revolut card here? Ooh, that's 95%, I'd say, of you. Something I did back in 2018, I was talking about this on Bitcoin Walk with Mark and Becky. And I thought I'd never actually done this, going back to my very first roundup. In the Revolut app, there's a little feature. You can round up the change. And back in 2018, when that came up, I switched that to 10x and ticked the box that it should automatically buy Bitcoin. I checked my first roundup amount, which was £2.50, and that's now worth nearly 30, I think £29. I was absolutely stunned, actually. And so you just automatically, without thinking, save. Saving is a whole kind of new topic, but I particularly ask you to get used to the idea of saving little bits of money, little bits of Satoshi. When I say money, I'm talking about Bitcoin. So that's that. Spending Bitcoin, very important part. And you may not be aware, this is really exploding right now. Can you believe it? That's the logo of Square, the mighty Square. You see those Square payment little processing things in stores in the US. That is now all set up to accept Bitcoin Lightning payments, already integrated, and that's being rolled out. Again, in the US, a big chain called Steak and Shake now accepts Bitcoin. And the CEO just the other day said his processing fees have gone down by 50%. We must learn from what other people are doing. Don't listen to me, just watch what's going on in the world right now. And he also said business has picked up. Remember, I'm talking about loyal, committed, enthusiastic, driven Bitcoiners. They went to Steak and Shake and bought steaks and shakes, I guess. So, and there's some ideas on wallets to put your Bitcoin in that you can move very easily. Aqua I particularly like, and I must big shout out because we've got Mr. Breeze himself today. Mr. Breeze, still in test flight, but an amazing app. I used it yesterday in Black Honey Coffee. Okay, so go explore, use that map, btcmap.org, I suggest. If you want to buy stuff on Amazon, then Netflix and all those sort of places, then you can go to Bitrefill and you buy a voucher code that you can quite simply put in the checkout, so you've effectively bought with Bitcoin. Okay, I have to mention volatility because we had a crash yesterday, as you saw me on the slide before. It's a state of mind, really. It is the price of being early. You cannot get gains without big volatility. They are hard. I won't try and cover this up, but you've got to be patient. You've got to work hard to do nothing. Remember I talked about that real estate issue. You're working hard just to get a tiny return. For Bitcoin, it's fun working hard to move your conviction levels higher, reading books, watching videos, listening to podcasts, all that sort of good stuff. So, but your basic point is to do absolutely nothing. And of course, when these dips happen, kind of enjoy them, maybe buy the dip, but don't sell your Bitcoin when it goes down. Okay, so I'm mentioning really what we've now got to do, our action from today is to study Bitcoin and start getting a strategy and building on Bitcoin. So, good place to start is a YouTube video by Joe Bryan, What's the Problem? Understand what money's all about. Go and read a 1 million bestseller book called The Bitcoin. Anyone read The Bitcoin Standard here? Yeah, 7 or 8, 9 people, fantastic. So they've sold 1 million copies. So, did you enjoy it, by the way? Yeah, yeah, good. Okay, I think that's a yes. And then you'll start learning about the good things. It's not all about money by any means. You know, how through sustainable methods, Bitcoin can be mined and give electricity to remote parts of Africa and elsewhere. It's unbelievable. Human rights, half the world is unbanked. It's very unfair, discriminatory. Particularly, well, for everybody who doesn't have a bank account. And now they have a bank account with Bitcoin. And the Aqua Wallet, for example, has Tether, which you can spend easily. So human rights is a big thing. And my real message is Bitcoin is about that freedom. I do prefer the word autonomy, so it's the ability to choose. There are consequences with freedom, but it's a tool. The goal is freedom. I hear the word freedom used a lot. But I don't feel we're free whilst we're being surveyed, whilst our bank accounts get shut down and all that good stuff. So we come to the end, I've got less than 3 minutes. You're not in a peaceful revolution, and I'd say peaceful revolution, unless you're spending sats. And you must spend and replace. So there's a little look at our Ordermoon restaurant app with Breeze integrated. You'll see it if you go into Black Honey or into the Chef's House and many places in Sofia. Do follow us on these channels and do get your sats back. Go to order.bg/BTC, just put an email address and your Lightning address. So that's all from me. Just about taking up all my time, and I'd like to thank you so much. Thank you for participating, and I'm opening it for any questions. Thank you very much.